Hi, it's Mike Downs here, and I've got two slides to show you because I want to share an idea with you, which is all about why I've arrived at a tagline for myself of teacher broadcaster. So the trail starts over here as a teacher, of which I am and have been for 15, 20 years or so. So that was teaching usually 7 to 11-year-old children. So all I want to do is just look at 4 words and tell you what I'm thinking, and see if you can draw any conclusions with me, which is sensible. So the first time we're talking about it is that a teacher, you know what a teacher is because we're all children once and we grew up, usually, if we were good or even if we weren't good, in schools. And a teacher is somebody who goes about and teaches you stuff. And so I'm just looking at some of the words here to say, and I am using a few words here to say, what is that all about? A teacher normally goes out, rather than a difference to an instructor, or in other words, just showing you how to do something. They say, they ask a lot of why questions. What do you think about that? Things like that. Okay, fine. So if I look at that, and then what I did with my local, they used to call it a hyperlocal site, What's in Kenilworth, was to start looking at some citizen journalism or blogging. So you'll see on this part that we are talking about a journalist who, again, if you asked every journalist around what do they do, they'd probably come up with a different answer. I'll make these slides available for you later so you can have a look yourselves. Now, if you are reporting or using journalism, then you are doing it for a particular reason. So if there's a storm blowing today, you might go out there and report it in. Now, if you say something like it's a 4/7, that might be the report, but then the teacher would come along and say, because somebody might in the audience might say, well, what is a 4/7? What are you talking about? Is that 4/7 out of 8, or is that a 4/7 out of 100? Then you'd have to backtrack and go and define what the word force is, and of course default over to the element of teaching. So that's where I got teacher journalist from. And looking through, and all these are clips from the web that I have cropped and put on a collage to say, what are we similar to? And so the synonyms on screen you can see are announcer, a broadcaster, columnist, I can't even say it, columnist. See, the thing is, I can't say the words, so I probably don't want to call myself it. Editors, scribes. So, just backtracking out, on this slide, all we're showing you is a teacher and a journalist. I am doing both things together. I'm reporting in new events, but I'm possibly teaching you in the process. But for me, the trail was not quite finished. So on this slide, which is talking about a teacher broadcaster, because I think for me personally it fits, and that is something I'm doing with my current projects, which is very, very important. So when I say important, I mean in the concept of giving you new information, hopefully good information, and then also with an element that you'll learn something as well, whether you'll like it or not. So in other words, let me just zoom in to see. And so there is another secondary or fourth phrase in the two slide set. So teacher goes out there and gives you something new, hopefully for your own benefit, so you can put it in your tool bag of knowledge and use it later when you need it. So that was teacher on the previous slide. Now I've tried to hone in to see what I do with Hangouts on Air, and certainly with Google+, and that is an element of broadcasting. So if you think about someone who is broadcasting, and it goes back to be a very old-fashioned way to say that they would transmit a program up a big mast and out over the ether, and then perhaps into people's homes by a television. It could be a radio. Now if you think of like narrowcasting, which I don't think is the opposite to this, but I am saying that with the internet and mobile phones being everywhere, then broadcasting is giving out a message. And remember, that message could be words written down, audio like I'm saying to you now, pictures or video, or a combination of everything. So that is about broadcasting. And the part about it is to say, what if you don't have the answers? So I know that these slides are just synonyms and words to try and think what I do. Now I've put journalist back in here to kind of like highlight that we are talking about the word broadcaster. And then if we look out to something like, and this is the bit that I love about it, which is the investigation. Because if you had a reporter where someone stands up there and they say, the river is flooded two cars fell in, you write it down, you put it in the newspaper, and that's it. But if you want to investigate something a little more difficult to it, then it's not about reporting, but it's going out and finding the answers. You might be making some phone calls, looking on the internet, just using your eyes and your ears, taking a bit of videotape, whatever it might be. So in the investigation, we are talking about going into which I absolutely love, and it's so fascinating. That's what the web's all about. It's 1500s look with the origin of the word investigation, which is to follow a trail or to search out. So if you don't have the answers, you go and find them, which is one of my golden rules almost with teaching. If somebody asks me a question, I don't know the answer, I will go away and find it, which people might not like sometimes because they didn't really mean the question to be important. But for me, if they ask it, then I will try and find an answer, because I've been doing it for 20 odd years or so. So we are talking about investigation, and in the lines of, you can have a look if you wish to later on, that's fantastic, the challenge. And that is a challenge because it keeps me going, quite honestly. And I always define the opposite to that, or one idea to say that to go out to be a good teacher, and certainly say a good teacher, broadcaster, journalist, call it what you want, you are being thorough, almost to the extent of being academic. If you define that to be the opposite, then you are talking about ignorance and not knowing. Or I'm not even going to go down the line of like procrastination or laziness, but it's a matter of saying, how can I use Google Plus to the absolute full, and to define something from, say, being a teacher first, then going out of the classroom because I outgrew the classroom and went on to the internet and reported on local events. Then Google Plus comes along, which takes me to a global almost audience, and it is a global audience. If I know that my time zones start on, say, the west coast of America all the way to Brisbane, Australia, it's around in a circle. So with me, how can I use this platform to be not only a teacher, and I don't like the word journalist because I'm not a trained journalist. If I use that loosely, I'm talking about bloggers and citizen journalists, which I think is even worse. But if you do go on to be looking at, say, a teacher broadcaster, then I think it fits a little bit more. If you want to find me and ask me any questions about it, I'm going to put the big versions of these slides in Google Drive, and I think they're about 4,000 pixels wide. Have a look round. Find me at google.com/plus Mike Downs. Thank you.